Welcome to the Modernize or Die podcast, CFML News Edition, where we keep you up to date with everything going on in the Coldfusion community. We'll share the latest news on events, releases to engines, frameworks, libraries, and tools, as well as spotlighting quality content from the community. Welcome to the Modernize or Die podcast, CFML News Edition. It is April 14th, 2020, and I'm Gavin Pickin, and I'm here with Eric Peterson today.
Hey, Gavin. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, everybody, for joining you. We probably fooled you because we're on time for once, so hope everybody watching is ready to go. Okay, so first of all, we want to thank our sponsors, Order Solutions, and today we're going to tell you about something else Order's just launched. So today, our Box Life store has come to life. So at Orders, we obviously try to live the box life, encompassing taking pride in everything box. We got plenty of them, that's for sure. So we decided to create some new products that align with our pillars of modernization and innovation. And we had our designers do some work on creating some cool little things for everybody out there.
Yeah, so you can head over. There's a blog post, and it links right into the store. But we're talking about swag and merchandise. So you can find, T-shirts, stickers,
some hoodies,
different designs on them, some hoodies. Yep.
Yep.
So if you've ever wanted your own, you've seen us around wearing the Order shirts, the cold box shirts. You're like, man, I wish I had one of those. Now's your chance.
Yep. And we have a couple of new designs too. So for the debut, our designers came up with an Astro Girl logo, which symbolizes the strength and ambition of women in every field. And then we also have one, Love for Coding design, which came out of our Valentine's special of why we love Coldfusion and programming. And so a couple of great designs there. There's a few ones like our Cold Box Superhero. So we got a little couple designs for that too, and then obviously we have our normal logos too for Cold Box, Command Box, etc. And there's more coming as well. We're working on some ideas for the podcast shirt. Not sure if we should have our Salvadorian gangsters or what, but we'll come up with something fun and a little bit different for the podcast. So I was planning on getting something ready for Into the Box so I could walk around and everybody be like, oh, I love the shirt, where can I get one? And then, have you guys have to fight for one live on the podcast. But unfortunately that's not happening, so we'll just have to do it online. But anyways, so the box store has come to life, and so if you guys want some programming swag or also some Order swag, go check that out. And thanks again to our sponsors, Order Solutions, for making this podcast possible. But also, thanks Patreon supporters, right, Eric?
That's right. We have some awesome Patreon supporters. We're currently at 43% mark for fully funding our podcasts here. So thank you for your help, current supporters, and we're excited to see who else joins in and helps support this podcast and the open source work that we do. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so let's get moving. So news and events, we've already talked about the box store. So next on the list is, if you guys are listening live or watching live on YouTube, that's you in there in the YouTube channel, there's a free Into the Box ticket being given away today. So if you're watching live, go check out the tweet link here I'm about to post in the channel, or Eric's going to post in the channel, one of us. See who gets here first. But if you go here, you can actually go check out the tweet we posted. And so basically we want you just to tell us what you're going to enjoy at Into the Box. So if you're there, retweet the tweet and respond and tell us what session you're most looking forward to, and then you go into the drawer. So that the plan is that I think later today at 5 p.m. Eastern, we're going to basically pull a winner out of the virtual hat there, and
the raffle box.
Yep, with raffle box, based on your tweet history, and get a free ticket. So if you guys are listening live or watching live, go check it out. So okay.
I would like to point out that raffle box is an official module on ForgeBox. So
too funny. Okay, so some more serious news now. Put on a serious face. Adobe Coldfusion 2018 release update 9 and Coldfusion 2016 release update 15 have been released today. Like 5 minutes before we started the podcast, I saw the tweets go out and the blog post was there. So basically, apart from fixing security vulnerabilities, they've also added their same site cookie support for CF Cookie. So I know James Moberg is going to be very happy. He's been waiting for that forever. They did put out a little sort of a hot fix if you needed that, but the security vulnerabilities that are mentioned in Security Bulletin APSB 20-18, that's the real update needed there. Brad and John are already working on the command box versions, so hopefully they'll be available later today on ForgeBox for you. So next time you start up, you can get the latest and greatest and be patched already. But for those of you doing the old school, those updates are available. We have a link there, and we'll put that in the show notes and also in the live chat.
Awesome.
That way, you guys make sure you get those security updates applied as soon as possible.
Right. We'd like to take a minute to congratulate and celebrate our fellow framework authors over in CF Wheels on their release of 2.1. So we'll paste a link in the chat and in the show notes, or you can head to their website, cfwheels.org, and see all the goodness has changed. It's mostly been a few bug fixes since the beta that they had. So congratulations on that release.
Very cool. So another exciting release. We always talk about VS Code extensions, and funnily enough, this isn't our VS Code hint, tip, and trick of the week, which it should have been, but I already had one. So, but we just released Command Box VS Code extension. So,
Woo-hoo!
Thanks to the great work of Kamasama K, aka Matthew Brown, which I always forget who it is, but I wrote it down so I'd remember. But he's done great work on a lot of the CFML extensions for VS Code, and so he helped us with this Command Box VS Code extension as well. And so
this one. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, this one can do a lot of fun things. A lot of it built around the scripts that you can put in to your box.json. Gives you a little script panel that you can run them. My favorite is you have IntelliSense now in your box.json file, and I believe your server.json file, which both of those are ones that I always forget what the keys are called.
That is cool.
So that alone is worth installing this extension. And I know there's cool things coming down the road for it as well.
Yeah, it's very cool. It is out, and we intend to build on top of that too. So we definitely appreciate all the work Matthew Brown or Kamasama K does. It's really important for the community in general. So thank you for all that.
It's just fun to say Kamasama K. So great job on that username.
And I've forgotten why.
It's a palindrome. Look at that.
Yeah, I know it is, but I was like,
backwards.
Yep, forwards and backwards is the same, but I still don't know the meaning. Guess I'll have to ask him sometime.
Okay. All right, so I think we're headed into our ORM section. We got two pieces of news about ORM engines.
Yep. So
I'll let you do the first one, since the second one probably makes more sense for me to talk about.
So CBORM version 2.5 was released, and so Luis has been working hard on the Coldbox 6 stuff. And one of the things we've been working on a lot, obviously, lately is APIs. And we've done a lot of CRUD, a lot of RESTful resources, and basically through all that pain, we decided to spice things up a little bit, and CBORM brings you some automatic RESTful CRUD for ORM entities. So what it allows you to do is basically not even have an API handler for basic CRUD stuff. So if your CRUD is the standard CRUD, the CBORM entities can just do it for you. So it's pretty neat. And this is basically getting it all ready for Coldbox 6 resources, but it's pretty neat, pretty cool. Definitely check that out. If you guys are doing APIs, you're building your indexes, you got your list function, your show function, your create, your update, delete. A lot of that's the same code over and over and over again. And so CBORM 2.5 allows you to use automatic RESTful CRUD. So definitely very cool.
Gavin, I think you just set a record for the amount of times you said CRUD in a 5-minute period.
Probably.
On the other side of the ORM news, I last week on the podcast released the quick version 3 alpha onto ForgeBox. And so that's up. The docs are constantly being updated. I'd say they're about 35% of the way done. It's funny how working on docs, I don't know, we've talked about test-driven development. There's definitely a documentation-driven development. And as I go through the docs, I'm like, oh, that's a weird thing. Why does it work that way? I'm going to go change it. And so there's been just a few little fixes, nothing major, nothing else breaking. So you can see all the major features either on the blog post about the quick version 3 alpha, or there is a what's new page on the docs now that has the full list. So those keep getting updated. That will have a beta as soon as the docs are done. The goal is to have this released into the box this year. So we have a few weeks to get there.
Yep. And just in case you thought it was a small release, read the blog post. It's large. I mean, I went through and was like, man, there's a lot of stuff in here. And there's a lot of great stuff. So definitely check that out. Also, speaking of big releases, we had Command Box 5 released a few weeks back, and Brad's been releasing his screencast series. So he's been releasing them every Tuesday and Thursday, and we have 2 new ones for you. We have the whole list there inside the show notes as well. But the most recent ones, he had Tuning Web Server Max Requests, and he had an Undertow Options one. So they're just short little screencasts, good content. Definitely check them out and see what you might be missing. So, yeah, a lot of good stuff, and he's still got a few more weeks of these. I think he said he had something like 10. So basically, right up to into the box, you're gonna keep getting these videos. So,
and if that's not enough Command Box 5 and Brad Wood for you, Ordis's upcoming webinar is on April 30th, and it's going to be about what's new in Command Box 5.
And we told him he can't just push play on all those videos.
Yes,
that's
we
not
did.
allowed. So
he has to ramble like the rest of us.
Yep. So Brad's definitely got lots of good content there, and so it'll be if you register today, you'll get the calendar reminder and you get the email reminders too. So definitely go register. You can register on autosolutions.com/event/webinar, and then in the actual presentation, if you've got questions, he's happy to answer them there too. Just be warned, Brad does get easily distracted onto tangents, but it's all useful information, and you'll definitely learn a lot. So that's coming up. That'll be April 30th, 11 a.m. Eastern. So, register now. It's coming up in a couple weeks here.
Yeah. Speaking of webinars, before the Ordis one, we have... Oh, wait, this is in the past.
Oh,
April 9th.
I forgot to say, past webinar. Yeah, so, oops, sorry. So last week... Alicia Dvorak did the journey through the Adobe Coldfusion performance monitoring tool, and I believe if you go to the link that we'll have in the show notes, you can actually, if you register after the fact, they will still email you the link. You'll basically be able to get access to the recording. So they haven't been posting them separately, but if you go register after the fact, they're available. So you should be able to get in there and watch that. And so if you guys aren't using something like Fusion Reactor or whatnot, you'll definitely want to check it out. It's got some some of the similar tools and some different tools. Definitely worth checking out. And as Charlie mentioned a couple weeks ago, it's good for standard and enterprise version. So that's nice.
Yeah. To round out the news, we have a couple reminders of surveys that we would like you to participate in. The first one is the Content Box CMS Customer Experience Survey. So if you are using Content Box or are interested in using Content Box, we'd love to hear from you. It will help us to plan the next version of the Content Box platform. So we'll put that in the show notes and in the chat. And then the other, we have 2 surveys. Gavin's putting another one in as we speak. The first one is the State of the CF Union 2020 survey. So this one is... probably my favorite of the surveys. Just asks a lot of questions about the technologies different developers are using, helps us see the trends, helps us know what engines we need to support, things like that. So please make sure to fill out that survey if you haven't already.
Yep, and then the other one is an Adobe use survey, and they just want to basically find out a little more about your usage. They want to know what you're using, the patterns of your usage, and they said, it's anonymous. They just want to learn a little more about people who are using their products and how they're using them, so they can make sure that the next version, is up to standard and up to speed. So, you already post that? There you go. Eric's already posted that one in there for you. So definitely go help them out there if you're an Adobe Coldfusion user. Okay, let's talk about some conferences.
Yeah, this part we unfortunately speed through a lot nowadays, with the reminders that the CF Summit East was canceled, including the post and pre-conference workshops.
But don't
We've
worry,
talked.
there's still plenty of good content coming your way.
Yes, and I believe a lot of that's going to be replicated in the Coldfusion Developer Week coming in May.
Yep, so Adobe Coldfusion Developer Week, that's May 18th to 22nd online, 2 sessions a day, 10 sessions throughout the week. It's free. You can register online at CF Dev Week. I'm going to paste it because it's got a lot of dashes and dots, and it's available in the show notes. But if you go to coldfusion.adobe.com, the portal has a big banner there reminding you about it, so you can't miss it. But definitely a lot of good content. Luis Mahano is going to be speaking from Audis, but there's a lot of great speakers. I know Charlie's going to be speaking there as well, Alicia, and a few of the other Adobe members, as well as some people from the community like Brian Class, etc. So, sorry, etc. for cutting your name down. But yeah, lots of great content. Definitely go check out that. They have the schedule out now as well. But a lot of those speakers are also speaking into the Box 2020, our online conference. And so we'll be doing that May 7th and 8th. And it's 2 days, 2 tracks. So at each session you have a hard decision to make. But don't worry, if you do purchase a ticket, the price is $199, which is a big discount from our in-person conference, and actually cheaper than the videos were supposed to be for this year. So we're trying to make it as affordable as we can, considering we don't have that physical cost these days. But we're going to be doing it the same day, same schedule, all recorded, all stream live, so you can pick your stream and basically watch there from the comfort of your own home. Popcorn, whatever you needed.
Yeah, the keynote will also be streamed live for free. You can see all the updates we've made to the products. And if for some reason you're watching the keynote that day and you haven't got a ticket, I wouldn't be surprised if you bought a ticket immediately after to go see more about what's coming. I'm really excited.
Yep. We're going to have people working hard trying to keep those tickets turning into access so you can get in there. And of course, we're recording them so you can watch them after the fact too. But if you're recording and watching live, we're going to try and have like a little chat so you guys can be talking in the chat like we do on these live podcasts as well. We're trying to add some interactivity there. So we'll definitely keep you guys up to speed on those different virtual tools we're going to use. We got a lot of great speakers there, like I mentioned, all the speakers, and actually a few more that couldn't make it are actually going to be coming now that it's an online conference because travel was a prohibiting factor. So we got a few people that are now speaking that previously couldn't. So we're happy about that.
Now, if you cannot wait for Into the Box 2020, good news, you can go view the previous years, 2019 and 2018, the videos for those Into the Box conferences. You can go purchase those.
Yep, only $9.99 for each year's conference. So if you want 2018, $9.99, and you've got like almost 30 hours of content to watch. So I've gone back and watched a few of them because obviously I was speaking and I missed a few sessions, and so I've gone back and watched a few of them, and a lot of that content is still very relevant today. So most of it's still a big big value, and some of the same sessions are being I know a couple of them were even presented last year at CF Summit in 2019. So the content's still relevant, still great speakers, and it definitely get you in the mode for Into the Box 2020 coming your way. Just so you know, workshops are going to be happening, just not at the same time as the conference. So we'll be releasing the schedule for that after the conference, and then you guys can register for one or more workshops. One of the good things about having it online now and breaking it up, we'll be able to let you go to more of them. So everybody wants to go to more workshops. They want to have more selection. So this way you can pick whichever ones you want. So we'll be releasing those. I know Eric's really excited about his quick workshop. It's the first time he's going to be presenting it, and so hopefully now we'll have even more people going because they won't have to pick one over the other. So definitely be pretty cool. So we will let you know as soon as we know. Thanks for everybody asking about that. I know the workshops are important to you as they are to us. Okay. Another conference we thought we'd give you an update on is Docker Live. So May 28th, just so you know, I checked the calendar last week and I freaked out because it was on a Tuesday and we thought we're all going to be missing the podcast. But that was April 28th. May 28th is a Thursday, so we're safe. We don't have to worry about missing a podcast.
There you go.
Yeah, I was a little worried there for a minute. But they're having a one-day conference. It's all free. So they'll have 3 different streams going, so 3 tracks. But you guys can watch online. They're going to have the Docker experts in the hallway track. And they talked about having them pre-recorded, so that way the speaker can actually answer questions in the chat as they go. So that's a different way to do it, but it looks like it's going to be fun. I'll definitely be checking that out. Maybe we can have a watch party, Eric, or something. We can go have a little Zoom room open. We can chit-chat about it as we watch, something like that.
We can talk about how confused we are about what they're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully they have the beginners track again, but
yes.
Just joking. We do a lot of Docker stuff, but still, some of those guys are ninjas, and it hurts your head. But CF Summit West dates were released October 28th and 29th at the Mirage Hotel. More information at cfsummit.adobeevents.com. So if you guys are interested in that, check that out. I know with everything happening with the COVID-19 that we're still waiting for everything to be absolutely verified. I'm sure things will change as time proceeds, but that's the basic information that's available to us right now. CF Camp, we're still waiting. Europe obviously been hit a little harder than the US, and so they're definitely waiting for a lot of things to settle before they can, get venues verified and insurance and all those other things. So we'll find out, and we'll let you know as soon as we know. Okay, so this week I have the right header banner. So blogs, tweets, and videos of the week, and we got a lot of them. A lot of them we have mentioned above, so we'll skip through those. So I know a lot of people want to just go through the blog list, so we have them all together. So in the show notes, the first one is the Adobe Coldfusion updates. So again, the blog posts linking to the coldfusion.adobe.com site, the portal there.
The next one you can find is about our Box Life store launch.
Yep, so pretty excited about that. I wonder who's going to be the first one to be sporting one of the Otis hoodies.
After that, we have Brad Wood's Undertow Options video for what's new in Command Box 5. Yep. And following that would be the Command Box VS Code extension released. Yep.
Okay, next on the list. This one got a lot of attention. You can probably guess who it's from. Let's have a look. Yes, it's Ben Adele. So this one, he's rediscovering his love of Coldfusion and CFML in 2020, and as the picture says, what has 2 thumbs and loves Coldfusion? This guy. So it just, as he mentioned, he's never been shy about how much he enjoys Coldfusion, and sort of talks about, when he started 20 years ago and sort of how things have evolved, and now they've moved to Lucy and everything, but he does give a couple of disclaimers saying, he's not trying to say that Coldfusion is better than your language. He just wants to explain why he loves it. And then he also wants to say that, he's used Coldfusion and Adobe Coldfusion for a long time, and now he's moved to Lucy, but doesn't mean that one is better than the other, or things are specifically unique to Lucy and not applicable there. But he does talk about, the best SQL ergonomics that he's ever seen with all the different languages. And again, based on his experience, talking about SQL injection as a first-class citizen, and just sort of some of the different things and reasons why he loves it. And a lot of people were, just basically, applauding him for all his help and effort and energy over from the community and everything he's done and stuff. And there's people like Brad in the chat saying that CF is better, and everybody should just be honest about it. So. But yeah, so it's a nice long blog post, a lot of good examples, and so if you want a hit list for the main reasons that people like Coldfusion and why we should be using Coldfusion. That's probably a good blog post for that. So
Yeah, I really like looking at that. It's nice to see blog posts about just things we like instead of, I don't know, CFML always gets hit down by other languages, even some of our own developers about its problems. Which every language has problems, but it's nice to see. These are the good things. These are things we like. This is what attracts us to the language. So
yeah, I mean, I remember when I first started way back when ASP Classic and PHP were on the scene, and I mean, I was doing VB in college with Java, and we had to do a end of the year project, and I picked Coldfusion and had it done within half a day, and then nobody else had finished putting their buttons on the damn page. Like we built a whole healthcare system, and it looked amazing compared to like the old Java. Like they didn't have all the cool GUI kits and everything, and using PHP and having to worry about the string concatenation in SQL and having to define your query, like your database connection everywhere. I mean, all the pain points were just gone, and so
right.
yeah, I truly understand. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a long time coming. A lot of languages improve, but sometimes I'm just like, man, that's really painful in these other languages. But like you said, we get used to what we can here, and I know before script got more compliant, people complained about that because there's tags everywhere. And now people complain that they see tags too much. Everyone's got a reason to complain,
Well,
but yeah,
that was
Ben's
a fun thing
positive.
reading through this. Is like he has so many things to read through, and I found myself nodding at a lot of them, and some of them I went, it's not my favorite, but that's fine.
Yeah,
As Brad points out in the chat, what's very interesting about this list is this is all like pure CFML. This is what the engines give you. It's not counting anything that you get from using a framework like Coldbox.
yeah,
And when you're talking about connection strings and all that stuff in other languages, yeah, like if you want to deal with a database in PHP, you probably already installed a framework because otherwise it's really hard. It's more difficult than you want it to be.
yeah. And this thing is, I don't hear
So
many people say, "Oh, I love PHP." Then they say, "I love Laravel." You don't hear Ruby
yeah,
developers. You hear Rails developers. So most people with other languages, they're loving it because of the frameworks. And
mm,
so, I mean, a lot of people don't use frameworks in Coldfusion because they didn't need to, like say, until they reach that pain point. And then there's a lot of reasons people are using frameworks. But yeah, so I mean, Ben's definitely bare bones, especially in all of the examples. He likes to break it down. And speaking of Ben breaking it down, he's even got a video in his next one talking about executing command line processes from a working directory using Process Builder. Thanks, Brad. You got him diving into Process Builder now.
yeah. So process builder, if I'm remembering in my very limited usage, is the Java API for running like things on the box, like executables, and as opposed to using what is the built-in Coldfusion one? I can't even remember the last time I used it. Someone help me. Nope. CF execute. There we go.
Oh, okay.
So
Sorry.
yeah.
I was like, what is?
so
He's talking about something else? No, yeah,
no. Yeah. So process builder is like what powers. I don't know if it actually powers CF execute, but it's the Java equivalent, and you can do a lot more with it. And if
yeah,
you want to hear someone wax poetic on it, you can watch Ben's video or ask Brad anytime.
yeah. Yeah, the video is really neat, and so he's been doing a lot of these videos. So if you want sort of a more descriptive version, I mean, his text is very descriptive. He's very well spoken too. But the video is kind of neat just to sort of see it. He walked through it and explained it, and so definitely a good addition. But the blog post is definitely very full as well. So yeah, so if you guys are doing a lot of stuff, and this actually ties into another blog post I'll mention here soon. But yeah, doing stuff for CF Execute, the process builders, got some definite positives, some good pros there, especially dealing with more than maybe timeouts and stuff like that. So, and as Brad says, it's one of the Java APIs that doesn't suck too bad.
Most of the newer Java APIs kind of fit in that.
Yeah,
One neat thing about this blog post that Ben put in was he's using a Lucy feature of array each to and closures to do this work in parallel. So he has, if you look in the blog post, he'll have a unit of work. It's an array. It has a bunch of closures, and then all he has to do is map over them with a second argument of true, which means run in parallel, and all of a sudden you don't have to do any CF thread work, wait for any of that. So thank you, Lucy, for an awesome feature.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I know that Luis has got inspired by all this asynchronous stuff, and the Coldbox 6, he's got a lot of cool things for that. He gave us a little sneak peek last week, and um, we're definitely pretty excited about some of that. And so this way, you won't have to worry about which version you're running. You'll be able to, the framework will handle covering it for you. And like you say, a lot of the Java APIs are pretty nice these days, and some of the built-in APIs for running asynchronous code is pretty awesome. So he's tapping into some of those there. So
he'll be going through all of that at Into the Box. I think he has a full session on it. So buy your ticket, come see it.
Yep. Okay, we also mentioned that CF Wheels 2.1 was released, so we have that blog post there for you too if you want to read a little more. And the next one here, Zach Spitzer actually just points out at some documentation he was updating, but how serialized JSON supports 2 additional query serialization formats for JSON now. And the cool thing is in the Lucy docs, which I'm going to show you here for those who are watching, obviously some good detail here, but if you scroll down through the examples, they have the query formats example, so we can run the code. Let me just make this a little bit bigger here and run it. But it shows you all the different formats. You can see how basically just passing the serialized JSON and pass in the row or the column or the label, for struct. You pass in the different types and it'll actually deserialize the query differently for you. So you can go through here. This is the struct version. This is the row version. This is the column version. So depending on how you want to iterate over the content, maybe the row or column might be better. But that struct version just saves you, taking the ugly CF query serialization and making it useful. So you get an array of structs back with the key and value. So, but these are new ones, column and row. I'd never heard of those before, and neither had Zach. So pretty cool.
Moral of the story: read the docs.
Well, he was writing the docs, and he still didn't know.
Documentation-driven development.
Yep. Okay. We also had a video from Matt Clemente about using multi-select inputs in command box custom commands. So there's some pretty cool features in command box that you may take for granted, but if you're building your own commands, it's pretty neat, and the multi-select is pretty cool too. So it allows you to work with like radio/checkboxes and basically choose what you want to use. And it's the good thing is when you're building your own command, it's easily to tie into. I'm pretty impressed when looking at command box and all the features that Brad's using, and obviously most of it's probably J-line, so I shouldn't give Brad too much credit, but but the multi-select is pretty neat. So if you've ever done an installation from the command line that says which features do you want to install, and you go up and down and push space to select, and that's basically a multi-select, and Matt shows you how to use them in this YouTube video. So definitely want to check that out too, and hopefully he's inspiring you guys to build some commands, because it's pretty good. And David Bellinger just said Matt's trying to catch up with Ben for quality blog posts. Yep. It's good. I mean, there's a lot of good content. Every week I'm like, there's not that much to talk about, but we're not even halfway through the blog post this week, so that's a lot.
Right.
I always thought the show would be like a 10-minute news show for like 10 hours maybe, but anyway, so as I mentioned earlier, the process builder might be good when you're using command line programs, and James Moberg has basically given a list of all the Windows command line programs that he's been using with Adobe Coldfusion. So the cool thing about this is there's basically a tool for anything and everything you could possibly think of. So maybe you're running Windows and you're not wanting to drop down to the Java level. There's a whole bunch of great command line tools. I mean, he's using 7-zip for zipping instead of the built-in zip, using BLAT for public domain, for SMTP. There's bulk rename commands. Obviously, most of us are pretty familiar with curl. But there's a lot of tools here. I mean, he's got a lot of tools. Fast copy, etc. So if you guys are looking for some tools or whatnot, definitely look through this list, because some of them have some extra features that are just really stand out on top. And so if
Yeah.
you look through his list here, there's definitely a lot in here. Graphics Magic, what we've talked about quite a bit lately as well. So yeah, a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, I think it's a great reminder too about using the right tool for the job. That's a phrase that gets thrown out a lot, and sometimes we forget that the command line is another tool that we can use even from our servers.
Yep.
So I know one that I've used extensively has been the WebKit to HTML for PDF,
Oh, yep.
WK to HTML PDF, something
Right
like
here.
that.
Yep.
So so there's great tools like that, and the command line can be another place we look before reinventing the wheel.
Yep, and that process builder post of bins would definitely give you some more flexibility in how you run them instead of using CF execute as well. So, but yeah, thanks James for sharing that. I know that him and Ben were talking on Twitter, and Ben's like, "Man, you use so many of these tools. You should make a list sometime." He says, "Okay, I will." And so he's got a list of Java ones supporting Java libraries coming soon as well. So pretty excited about
Awesome.
that. Luis Mahano also blogged about that CBRM 2.5 release, so we talked about that earlier. And this
Yeah, if you
one,
want if
oh,
you want a sneak peek of what this can look like with Coldbox 6, that blog post is the place to go.
yep, that's pretty exciting. I'm just excited I had an idea and then I didn't even have to implement it. Luis got inspired and came and did it for me, so even better. But okay, we also had another blog post from Tony Junkies implementing Rulebox in your Framework 1 application. So this one's been coming for a little while. He was at Adobe Coldfusion Summit in Vegas in 2019, and he watched Luis Mahano's talk on Rulebox. So if you guys haven't heard of Rulebox, basically it's a set of rules that you can run your code through. Instead of having crazy case statements and if statements or whatnot, it tries to make a more user-friendly, developer-friendly way to have your rules set up and created, and then you can sort of process your logic through that. And so what he's done is actually got it working in Framework 1. So it wasn't an easy feat per se, but the blog post goes through what you'll need. Um, basically, it's modeled after the given when then. It's dynamic, expressive, etc. So he did talk about some command box dependencies you'll need, and then walks through it. So I like how clear it is. It's a good process. And so yeah, if you guys are looking at something, I'd definitely check out Rulebox. And I believe Luis actually talked about this at Into the Box 2019 too. So if you buy those videos, you'll be able to see it in there.
Right.
But pretty
You know,
cool. And
Tony here, I don't know if he has this title in the Framework 1 community, but he often will find some of these Coldbox modules we have and put in the work in the blog post to making it work in Framework 1. So he's a very valuable community member there. I wouldn't be surprised if one day he releases a Framework 1 patch that has a module system, compatible with Coldbox. Let's do it, Tony. Let's do
yeah,
it.
he keeps saying though, just use Coldbox if you're gonna do
That's
that.
fair. That's
But
fair.
but yeah, because they did talk about that. I know him and Sean and the other major developers in Framework One talked about that. But they're like, if we keep adding everything to it, we're pretty much making Framework One into Coldbox. So, anyways, but yeah, Tony's good. Yeah, and he likes all these tools, and he still works with Framework One as well as some Coldbox stuff. So a lot of times he wants to use them in both. So he does the hard work to figure out how to get it working. And thank you for sharing that. We also have another video from Brad, the tuning web server max request. So we mentioned that earlier. And the next one we had from Ben Adele, which is another blog and video. This time talking about exclusive named locks in Lucy. And he had a cool little demonstration here, which
Yeah.
I'm going to try and show here on the screen share for those watching. Oh, there's Vicky Ryder. But so he has the video, which is really neat, and he also has some animated GIFs because everything needs animated GIFs these days. But he basically shows some of the examples here. So we talked about using read fast, read slow, write fast, and then you see how the locks are affecting the code, and basically certain things are faster than others and certain things block, etc. So the video went through quite a lot of detail, but I didn't even know there were so many different types of locks. I guess I don't use locks as much as I should, but it was pretty good to walk through this. So
Yeah, locks are one of those things you don't need a lot in your code, but when you need it, it's kind of confusing. So I too love the diagrams, the animated GIFs. I also love that he said he decided to dive into this while he was reading the Learn Modern CFML in 100 Minutes book, which was written by Luis,
yep, it was
and is free to read online.
yeah. If you go to is it? I have to get the link here. I don't remember what
If
it
you go to
is.
ordisbooks.com, I think it's on there.
Okay, yep.
I'm going to go.
Ordersbooks.com has all of our books there. I'm
Yes,
pretty
it
sure it
is.
is.
Ta-da.
Okay, cool. Yep. So if you go to ordersbooks.com and type "learn" in the search, you'll see it right there. And we actually do give away some of those hard copy versions at the conferences. You can buy the hard copy, but it is free online, like Eric said. So definitely a cool resource. But he said he was pretty fuzzy on it until Luis made it pretty easy, and he thinks he gets it now. So very cool. Yeah, I like the video too. Definitely very helpful, as David said in the chat. Okay, we also have a blog post on the Adobe Coldfusion portal. This one is from David Byers, I believe. And so,
Yes.
a very important one for those who don't know: best practices for secure password storage in Coldfusion. And the first practice of secure password storage is never, ever, 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 ever store passwords in clear text. So I'm glad he made that bigger than the title on the page to make it clear. But yeah, very good blog post. I know Brad's done quite a few talks about password entropy,
Yeah.
and
If you buy those old Into the Box videos, you'll be able to watch one of those, I believe.
yeah, I think he's probably even done a couple free. He might have. Was that the one he did at CF Summit?
I believe so.
Yeah, I need to check on that too. So yeah, but that's definitely a good blog post. Yeah, and like you said, we got to let go of the idea of being able to access a user's password. You shouldn't need that. You should just be able to reset it if they need to.
Oh man, isn't that the
And
scariest thing when you go to a service and you're like, "Hey, I forgot my password," and they email you your password, and you're like,
yeah,
"Oh, oh." I
yeah,
actually also feel the same way whenever I try to go reset my password and they say this is not different from your last 10. I'm like, okay,
yeah,
it doesn't make me feel as safe anymore.
yeah. I know some of I still feel a little funny when they say this password is too long. you
Yeah,
know.
that one. Someone needs to update their database. That's all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when it's too long and it's 6 characters or 12 characters or something, like you should be doing something to this that makes it much longer than that. But anyway, yeah. So Brad did confirm he did give that at CF Summit. Okay, so the next one was an interesting one from Pete Freytag, and for those of you that are using something like Netlify, he ran into this Acme client error, valid not acceptable for finalization. And so basically he has a few static sites that are hosting using Netlify, and he got an email about the content security policy header reference, but he gives this pretty interesting error here. And so he's just said he'd never seen that when he's been working with Let's Encrypt, etc. But it seemed to work itself out after a while. But just if you do see this blog post has a little information on it. And as usual, thanks for sharing that, Pete. Security related stuff is his game. And yeah, pretty interesting. I guess they all expired on April 23, 2020, so that's coming up pretty soon here. So interesting. Okay. So James Moberg also had a Coldfusion query blog post he talked about as well, mentioning, are they reserved words really, or that's just a bug? So This was interesting. I know when he was messing with this, he was playing with CF Fiddle and try CF, and I guess CF Fiddle locks down the use of CF Query in some use cases, so he had a bit of an issue. But I guess he had a first and last column in this Excel spreadsheet that he uploaded, and so people basically got an error saying incorrect column name or whatnot, and so basically worked through this. And they aren't reserved in MS SQL, but he's wondering if it's basically a bug or something in Adobe Coldfusion. So he did use Pete Freitag's SQL Reserve words check. I didn't even know Pete had that tool. That's cool. And so it's pretty interesting. So he's got some workarounds to sort of go through it, maybe rename some of the fields, etc. And then Zach also talked about using brackets, but I guess that created a new Lucy bug that Zach reported too, that certain brackets will break inside of Lucy depending on what you're doing. So, moral of the story, don't use queries.
Yeah, I was gonna say this just reminds me of Gert's presentation. I think it was the first CF objective I went to. Was it Dev Objective that year? I think it was Dev Objective that year. And he just pointed out that Query of Queries is basically Lucy re-implementing a database server in Lucy. And it was slow and it would never be as good.
Yeah, didn't they say that now they try and do that internally, but if it's a really big file, then they almost spin up their own like H2 or something in behind the scenes to run. There's like some point where if it's big enough, they'll actually spin up a real database server and do stuff. And so, depending on big data, you get different results than small data just because you're actually using an engine. I think that Brad talked about it at some point. I think we mentioned on the podcast before, but
in some ways that sounds even scarier because now you'll get different results depending on which one you do.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, the good thing about that blog post of James is it does have demos for Coldfusion 10, 11, 2016, 2018, Raylo, and Lucy. And it doesn't work in any of the Adobe versions. It works in Raylo and Lucy. So, yeah, maybe they've got some special keyword issue there. So, thanks, James, for sharing that. Okay. Pete Freitag also has a bash loop to wait for your server to start. So I guess he had a client working on Fixinator to start up the Fixinator Enterprise scanning server to run with their CI pipeline. The CI script needs to wait a little bit for it to start up so we can actually use it or whatever. So we came up with a bash script, and let me share my screen so you can see it. So it's got a nice little bash script here. So make sure it waits for the server to start and everything. Basically, he said if you're using the script for a different purpose, you want to change the Docker Compose up to another command to start your server. The interesting thing is, too, make sure you have everything you need installed here, because curl is obviously installed on like a Mac and Linux OSs and everything, but Docker containers these days, they strip them out to try and make them as lean and mean as possible. So a lot of things that you've never thought about installing before can be missing if you're using Docker containers. So just something to be aware of there. But it's a cool little script, and thanks again for sharing, Pete.
We've talked about the next two a bit. First one is the post about the quick version 3 alpha being released. Again, if you want to get a quick overview of breaking changes or headline features, that's the place to go to. Put that in the show notes. And the second one is another Command Box 5, what's new in Command Box 5 video. This one on Lucy extension management.
Cool. And then we have a blog post that talks about the announcement of the Adobe Coldfusion Developer Week 2020. And as it says, Alicia wrote, "We're just as disappointed as you about the recent cancellation of Adobe's Coldfusion Summit East in Washington, D.C. So we decided to pivot the event into a free online developer week." So they're bringing all the same content and presentations live. And as we mentioned, it's May 18th through 22nd. So they want you to join them from the comfort of your own home to, spend some time in the development community and learn what's new in Coldfusion. So, pretty cool. Okay, so that wraps up our blog post. Whew, there's a lot of them. You guys are keeping busy. So let's talk about finding a job. Unfortunately, jobs are big in the news these days. A lot of people hitting the unemployment lines, but we've got a few options for you here. So getcfmljobs.com has 22 job openings right now from 19 companies across 16 locations in 5 countries. We have 5 new ones this week. So we have one full-time Coldfusion developer in Bengaluru, Karnataka, India. That was posted just April 9th. And we have a Coldfusion software developer in Albany, New York, as well as a Coldfusion software engineer in Washington, D.C. And then it looks like we've got a remote position, which I'm assuming a lot of these are probably remote for the short term at least. A senior Coldfusion developer at a remote company. That was posted on the 7th. And then we got one in Kansas City. Brad, are you going to take a job over there in Kansas? So looking for a full-time Coldfusion developer in Kansas as well. So,
yeah. And thanks, Daniel Fredericks in the chat mentioned the CFML Slack also has a jobs channel that you can go to if you're looking for work right now.
yeah, very cool. And then on Twitter too, some of the people, I know Nolan said he had someone that was looking for a couple of solid developers and everything. And speaking about the whole job thing too, the Sacramento Interactive, the group that Nolan is part of in Sacramento, is having an online Zoom meetup for their user group this month, and they're actually going to be talking to someone about writing resumes. So Nolan got a lot of people send them their resumes, and he was unimpressed by the way people spout Coldfusion 5 different ways, and none of them right. Not quite, but yeah. So he was just saying a lot of the resumes didn't even make it to the hiring, the person in charge of hiring, because grammar and other things. And so they're actually running a little workshop on how to get your resume up to speed and stuff. So they're doing a Zoom meeting on that. So I will try and find that tweet so I can add that link to the show notes as well. But thanks, Daniel, for letting us know about the jobs channel on Slack. I forget that's there sometime. There's a lot of channels in our Slack channel. There's 3,500 people in there. A lot of great things. So definitely check that out too. And then if anyone has a job opening, let us know and we'll put it on the show as well. Okay. So ForgeBox module of the week. So this one is one that we actually announced last week. So we're going to talk about the Coldbox cross-site request forgery version 2.0.1. So Luis just released this last week. And so for those of you who aren't too aware, you want to give them a quick rundown on what cross-site request forgery is and what this is about?
So this is one of those like OWASP vulnerabilities. If you Google OWASP, you'll get a whole list and a bunch of Wikipedia articles on it. So cross-site request forgery is the ability of a malicious site to post a form to your site, and if you're not guarding for it, they're using your logged-in credentials. So, for instance, if you're logged into log into your bank and your bank hasn't had this this protection in place, somebody could post a form to that. It would use your current session because you're logged in your browser, and they could do bad stuff. The cross-site request forgery token, or CSRF token, is one of the ways to work around that. It puts a expiring token into your form that needs to be submitted with it and verifies it on the server. So the CSRF module here does a lot to make that easy, and in many cases automatic.
Yeah, it's very cool. I know that you had a CSRF module that has been out there for a while too.
Right. I think Luis kind of rolled in. I had an interceptor that would check any non-GET request to make sure there was a token, because I forgot them all the time. And so it looks like you rolled this in here. There's an auto verifier setting that does the same kind of thing. So
yeah, it's pretty neat. And so, yeah, the cool thing is that it does token rotation, and if you're working with like CB Auth, and this is part of CB Security's newest release too, but a lot of tie-ins to those other modules too. So when you log in or log out to using CB Auth, then it automatically rotates your tokens and stuff like that too. there's a lot of cool little features in here. There's a lot of things to try and make it easier for you. So a lot of features.
One neat thing he has in here for Coldbox apps too is there is an endpoint you can turn on that will generate tokens for your API requests if you need that.
Yep.
Because API requests can have the same cross-site request forgery issues if you're using, any sort of traditional cookie or session-based authentication.
Yeah, and obviously you're not hitting the servers for Coldfusion to generate new ones all the time, so you'll need to have an endpoint to generate some. So pretty neat. Yeah, so that's a good module. Again, it's been updated. It's part of the CB Security Suite. And we had the blog post on that, I believe, last week. So find out more about it on forgebox.io, and it's CBCSRF, so Coldbox cross-site request forgery. So definitely should check that one out. Okay, and then next we have our VS Code hint, tip, and trick of the week. And so this one here is actually a Markdown editor called Markdown All-in-One. So Markdown these days, a lot of people are using it for a lot of things. And so this one here, I won't try and pronounce, well I guess I can, Zhu Yang, has almost he has 1.3 million installs of this, and it's got 5 stars with over 76 reviews. But it's basically Markdown support for your VS Code editor. So there's quite a lot of cool stuff in there. Simple little things. Keyboard shortcuts for bold, italics, span, strike through, headings. They're all easily available. You can do table of contents real easily there, and there's even comments to be able to omit stuff from the table of contents if you'd like to. This makes it easy for editing lists. You can also print your Markdown to HTML with some commands there, so it can actually convert it for you. There's some cool GitHub flavored Markdowns like the table formatter, so you can actually do some of that as well. It's pretty nice little built-in things. If you want to do math in Markdown, you can do that too, but why would you? As well as like auto completions and everything for images and files, etc. Referencing links, and there's some other cool stuff. And obviously it's got the little commands as well, so you can run all that pretty easily. But yeah, it's a nice little Markdown tool, and the Markdown support in VS Code by itself isn't bad at all. You can definitely do that. So there's a lot of good tools out there for it, but this one showed up on my radar, and I had to install it. So definitely worth playing with. So.
Yeah. I feel like we all do some sort of Markdown. I mean, all of the order stocks are in Markdown, so even just not having to Google how to make a link, or an image. Image is the one that gets me. So.
Yep. Pretty cool. Okay. So if you guys got a better Markdown editor, let us know. So I think Luis tried to share one, but he's not a moderator, so he couldn't post his link, so we didn't see it. Sorry, Luis. But he had one that said that it exports to PDF, HTML, PNG, JPEG, and more. So we'll have to make Luis a moderator on the channel so we can post stuff.
I don't know. I kind of love the idea that Luis, the patron saint of Ordis, is not a moderator in here.
Okay, so last on our list, we got to our Patreon supporters. So again, thanks to all our Patreon supporters, we're at 43% of our goal to try and get the podcasts all fully funded. So right now we have a good selection of Patreon supporters, and our newest supporter is Brett DeLine. So Brett, thank you very much for becoming our latest Patreon supporter. And if you want to become a Patreon supporter or learn more about it, you can go to patreon.com/AutoSolutions. But as I said, our goal is to try and fund this podcast, our conferences podcast, as well as our Soapbox podcast, and then our goal for that. And then after that, the funds go to our other open source projects like CommandBox, ForgeBox, all our open source documentation, and everything there. So we really do appreciate it. Thanks for your support.
Yeah.
And so,
should I attempt the names now, Gavin?
Go for it.
I think it's finally my week on this. Here we go. Thank you to Ben Nadal, Brett DeLine, Dali, Dan Card, Daniel Garcia, David Bellinger, DJ Lesnicki, Don Bellamy, Eric Hoffman, Gary Knight, Jan Yannick, Jeremy Adams, Jordan Clark, Joseph Lamery, Kai Koenig, Laxma Titrahadi, Matthew Clemente, Mingo Hagen, Ryan Hughes, Scott Steinbeck, Sean Odin, Stephen Klotz, Synaptrix, and Yogesh Mathur. Thank you all for your support.
Yep, and if you guys want, we try and keep our list up to date on the autosolutions.com/about-us/sponsors page, and we have a couple of special sponsors there too. We give a little more limelight too for the bigger packages, and patreon.com we have all the different packages available, some of them very small, some of them a little larger too, with extra perks and benefits, so definitely go check those out. We do appreciate it, but we want to make sure that you guys get some good perks. And last week we announced that you guys are actually getting a discount on Into the Box tickets, so you should have got an email so you can get the discount there. And if you guys are looking to get Into the Box ticket and you didn't get the email and you are a Patreon supporter, please let us know and we'll get you that discount code so you can save right there. So, well, busy week, lots of news, but a good one. Some good news for a change, right?
That's right. Thank you all for contributing to the community with codes, blog posts, tweets, all of that. And we'll catch you next week.
Yep. Have a good one. Bye, everybody. Show notes for this episode can be found at cfmlnews.modernizeordie.io, where you can also subscribe to your favorite podcast player like Spotify or iTunes. We also have the link to YouTube to find more videos just like this. The music used in this podcast is under a royalty-free license from Sound.com and Blue Tree Audio.